Hi everyone, and welcome to the Purl Girl Knits podcast. My name is Catherine, and I am your host. Thank you to any returning viewer, and thank you so much if you are a new viewer and checking me out. It's been a really long time since I last podcasted. Life definitely got in the way and extremely busy. A lot of unexpected work things to do, and then Christmas happened and I was away for Christmas and then came back, and then after that I worked a lot, and then I got sick, and so not a lot of knitting happened at the same time, but also these things happened. So I am sorry that it took so long for me to podcast again. If you want to make sure to not miss any of my episode, please consider subscribing, and that's going to give you a notification every time that an episode comes out. So let's do this. I do not have a lot, like I said, because I worked a lot and it got sick at the same time. I got the flu that got really bad this year, and so things kind of stopped for a couple of weeks there. Also, there is another little reason why it took me a little bit to podcast, and I will show you. We have a dog. A dog arrived in our lives, and I will show you the dog at the end of the podcast if you want to, and if he is so inclined to. He he really loves yarn, and he loves to go and steal balls of yarn. Sorry about that. He really loves yarn, and so it's a little bit harder for me to be able to podcast because right now he loves to just steal my skeins and balls of yarn and run away with it. You know how some dogs do that with like paper towel and toilet paper and all those things and like unroll it? My dog do that with my skeins of yarn. So I am slowly teaching him to not do that, and therefore there might be a few cuts in this episode if I need to stop my dog to steal my podcast stuff. So let's start first with the things that I started for my New Year start. I like to do that I started that last year, and I really liked it. So last year what I did in December is that I've knitted as much as I could on unfinished project to finish them before the new year, and then on the new year I started new projects. I didn't do the December finishing as much as I could this year because I ended up working a lot, and I didn't had a lot on the needles either that could be finished in a month. The things that I have on the needle that are unfinished are all big projects, so big blankets and things like that I knew that wouldn't be done anyway, even if I would put the time into it. So I did not do that, but I did do my New Year start, which was the motor die pattern. I've been looking at that pattern for a really long time, and the only reason why I didn't bought it before now was because it was only part of a magazine. It was part of a book, and there was other beautiful pattern in that book, but just nothing that I really wanted to do outside of that motor die. So slightly before Christmas, so sometime in November, I think, the pattern actually got released just by itself. And so I was super excited, and I got it knowing that this was going to be my New Year start. I'm doing the mortar die because I wanted one of those humongous shawls for the winter, and I also knew that I wouldn't have it for this winter for sure because it was already January, and by the time I'm going to be done knitting it, the bulk of the big winter super cold days are going to be done. And so I know that this is a knit that I'm doing now for next winter, but I also know that if I don't do it now, because it's so warm when I'm knitting on, like, it's so warm, the knit itself, that I'm not going to be able to knit that in the summer. It's going to be way too warm to have on my lap to knit on it. So I'm knitting it now. I don't think we're going to have another really, really big strike of cold coming on like our way, but it's going to be done for next winter. And so as soon as the winter comes out in November, December, I'm going to have it, and it's going to be amazing because it's so warm. One thing that I started last year that I'm also continuing this year is that I'm trying to use a lot of my stash. I have an okay amount. I don't have too much and I don't have not enough. I have a good amount right now of yarn in my stash, but I know that if I want to keep having new yarn in there, I need to use what I have. Otherwise, it's going to get out of control. And I don't have the space in my house to allow my yarn stash and fiber stash to get out of control, especially now that I've started to quilt. Now I'm starting to have a little bit of a fabric stash as well. So I need to keep all of those under control to make sure it's not going to take over the house. So when I got the motor dye pattern, I automatically knew that I wanted to have it in a hand spun. And I took a couple of weeks of looking into things. I took some skeins out and put some skeins aside and then changed combination and things like that. And I end up with a really, really nice combination that I'm really, really happy about. All of the yarn is hand spun. I've also decided to use some mohair in it. And I was wondering at first if I would just do some accent of mohair in there, and I've decided to just full on go for it and have mohair all across my motor dye. I am using mohair from Stash as well, which is why the idea came into my mind. The only mohair that I bought was the gray mohair for the gray section of it, which you will see in a second. So this is not finished. It is still a whip. And I will try to show it to you as best as I can without losing any stitches. Because I'm knitting it in the round, so you're starting with the outside and going on the inside. But here you go. So it is a square shaped, and all the sides are all the same. So here you go. The only difference that I've changed is that in the pattern, every color section is actually, I believe it's 2 different sections, and there's another color dividing it once in a while. I don't want to give away too much from the pattern, but I didn't want it to change color that much, so I've only selected 2 colors, and I'm using those 2 colors, and I'm just doing bigger chunks of color changes in there. So there you go. And then the border, it's rattling a little bit on the side, but here you go. And this is all the border. So when it's going to be blocked, it's going to do little peaks like that. And so I don't know if you can see the mohair in it. Oh, that little fuzziness. I love it. And so we don't really see the mohair in the gray because it was gray over gray. So it really blends out and just gives us that little fuzziness on it. In this section, you do see the white or beige thread in there a little bit more. But I really, really don't mind it. At first I thought I would dislike it, but I don't. And all that fuzziness, I mean, oh, I love it. I love it. So it is a little beast. It's big. It's really, really big. And so it's not the kind of thing that I can bring at work and just work on at work, because I tried to do it last week where I worked because I had a little bit more time on my breaks, and I had my big computer bag of work with all my stuff that I need to work, and then I had another big computer bag with this stashed in it. It was pretty funny, but yeah, it's not the kind of thing that you can easily bring anywhere. But it's so lovely and it's so warm. Like I said, when I have this on my lap, it's so, so warm. And that's why I'm so happy that I've started it now, because there's no way I would have been able to knit on this during the summertime because it would have been too warm to be able to do it. And my dog also started to really like kind of getting underneath it and rest and sleep under my knitting, at least under this knitting, because I'm putting all my time on this right now. I really, really love the knit of the motor dye. I am not sick of it already. Sometimes when I do big project, I kind of get sick of what the pattern is, and then I just kind of want to move on to something else. But this is not the case with the motor dye. I really, really love it. And the pattern is not where you have the little eyelets in it. So those little eyelets, it's not constant. So you do have to like look at the pattern to make sure that you're doing it at the good time and on the good row and all of that. And therefore I think it's just keeping me engaged a little bit more than another pattern would. And I really love it. The only difference is that, the only thing right now is that I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the middle section like the pattern calls for. So basically you have the gorgeous border, you have the color section, and then the center goes back to gray. And it looks like plain knit. I'm not sure if it is because I haven't looked at it yet. But I'm wondering if I should just continue my color section all the way up to the middle and just call it a day. And see how that would work and how that would be, or if I just do like another chunk of another color, maybe another color, two other colors to change it, or if I just continue all of it. I really love the color combination of those two right now. So I don't know, we'll see. I have no idea yet. I'm not there yet either. I'm a little bit over halfway through the color section. So I'll make my decision when I'm done all my repeats of the color section, and we'll go from there. But if you have an idea, if you have an opinion on that, please leave a comment below and I'll make sure I'll read them. So this was the motor dye, and like I said, I am doing it with hand spun. So this is the red that I am using. It is a 30% alpaca, 70% merino blend that I have. And I am using this as the other color section. And this is organic Polworth. And those were two things that I spun on the Spinzilla when I did it 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. In that range. And I don't think I have any gray left because I used it all. The gray mohair that I used is Kid Silk by Drops. And it is 75% mohair, 25% silk. And the leftover mohair in the beige range that I'm using for the color section is Art Yarns Silk Mohair, 60% Super Kid Mohair, 40% silk that I am using. I had leftover from another project that I did, and it was my birthday project 2 years ago, and I used half of the skeins that I had. I don't know if you can hear that squeaky toy, but so I used half of it for the project, and the other half we used to do borders and things like that. And I didn't want it to use such beautiful mohair for something as frugal as fringes and things like that. So I've kept it in my stash, and I'm really glad because it's perfect for that project. So this is what I'm using for my motor die. And I am so happy. So happy. The other thing, I've started some socks, plain vanilla socks, and it kind of took me a really long time to finish one sock, so I'll show it to you when I have a pair, if I have a pair eventually. I don't know, I think I need a break from socks. I think socks are a really fun thing to do in the summer for me. I'm kind of discovering that I'm really a seasonal crafter, and like I will be more inclined to cross stitch in the summer than I will be in the winter, and I will be more inclined to do big knits in the winter compared to the summer, and I like to do socks better in the summer and less in the winter and things like that. So I'm discovering that because I was wondering why sometimes I never finish things and how sometimes I do, but this is one of the reasons why. I'm gonna show you my cozy memory blanket. It's really slowly getting bigger. I think this is gonna be definitely like a multiple year project for this and for the hexagons. But hey, little guy. Yeah, so I have a couple of hexagons to show you. I have a couple of squares to show you because I've done extra squares to continue my base of my cozy memory blanket. I'm considering actually when I'll be done the motor die, depending on where we are in the season, to start a blanket for him so that he really likes to get into blankets and rest under them and get all cozy, and so I'm really considering making a blanket for him. So here we are. I have a few extra hexagons and squares, so I'm just going to do both at the same time. Hexagons are crocheted and squares are knitted, but because they're kind of the same yarns and things like that, I just thought I would combine them. So I have a square right here of a beautiful red yarn, and an hexagon here which was part of red, and the other two inside. The dark red is actually the one that is used with the beige strand in here. The beige and the dark red were from a handy dyer in New Brunswick, and the red was something that I used, that I got in Knit Crate years ago. The red is naturally dyed, but I'm gonna try to put yarn away from this little guy. Yeah. So yeah, a square and an hexagon. I have another square of the Crazy Zoberball that I had like so much of it left, and so I've done another base square for this. Oops, I'm trying to just separate both so that it's not too much in the way. And so this is the hexagon, and this is the square, and this is shibui yarn. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing this properly, but I've done another hexagon from one of the natural dye that I've done. So this is just a really, it's a really light purple. And then I have another shibui yarn, square, and hexagon. And then I have two more squares. I have this, which is just green. that I had from my green pair of socks for Christmas. And I had that left over. I also have some hexagons for it, but they're not in the bag yet. But there is hexagons with it. And I did another square with this, which was an October pair of socks, I believe. And then I also have all of those little minis that I got with time that I'm gonna add in my blanket, because I'm running out of minis to put in my blankets. I did the random act of kindness that goes through in the fall, and I only got one. I had a couple of people sending things to me, and they just never send it to me. So it's life, right? But here's a blanket now. So it's not like, it's not big, but I'm getting there, right? So I'm just adding more of those base squares with the connecting one, and I'm gonna do a bunch of it, and then when that will be done, well, then I'll be able to continue and go up and connect everything together. So, but I like it. There's a few colors in there like this or this that are not quite my style, but they're part of things that I've done, so I'm okay. This is a mini actually, but I really, really like the color, the neutral color in between. I love how it just kind of brings everything together, since this is all a little bit all over the place, like all the yarn is all different colors and things. So I really like how that neutral in between all brings them together. It's a little bit more work for sure, but it's worth it. So I'll add those base squares in my blanket with some connecting squares, and then we'll go from there. I was thinking about possibly doing kind of a Christmas in July exchange. I need more minis for my blankets. I really, really do, because I'm out of yarn that I used in projects already to put in my blankets. But I still also have some leftovers of those yarns that I still have. So I was thinking about doing a 10-gram minis exchange with a minimum of 5. You can put as much more as you want. And just kind of do a act of kindness kind of little box with anyone else that would be interested into exchanging minis with me or with other people. And if you're interested, please leave a comment below, and depending on how many people are interested in things like that, we'll see what we could organize. So the goal would be to do it and I don't know, send it in like May or June. Depending on people are living and things like that, things might take a little bit longer to get there. But the goal would be to open it on July 25th, as this would be the Christmas in July. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're interested. And yeah, just let me know. The last thing that I would love to talk about is my quilting. You guys know that I've started quilting slightly before Christmas, and I am happy to say that my quilt top is now all assembled. I also assembled the batting and the backing together. And so I will insert a photo right here. And now I'm at the point where I need to do the quilting. This is super scary to me. And especially now that I have a 1953 vintage Singer machine, and it doesn't quite like free motion quilting. Uh, it doesn't dislike it either. It just doesn't fully like it. So I had an extra piece that I did. I think it was my first two squares that I've done, and then I quite didn't like the color combination for it, so I've kept them to practice my quilting, which is a really great thing I've done because I had a lot of issues. Oops. I had a lot of issues like thread all creating little bunch at the bottom, and stitches not quite sticking to each other. And so I'm not too sure what to do. I've changed my machine tension, I've changed my thread tension, I've cleaned everything, all the little dust at the bottom. I unscrewed where the feed dogs are to clean all of that. I've changed my bobbin, my under bobbin, I've changed my thread bobbin, I've changed my needle. And so now the only thing that I have left is to undo my machine and oil it all in the little section that needs to be oiled. Also, let me do this for you guys. My machine tends to do that just to like not pick up stitches properly, and then suddenly it's gonna sew properly again for a little bit, and then it's gonna start not picking it up again for a little bit, and then starting to sew again for a little bit. And I have no idea what the problem is. If there's any quilter out there that can help me out, please let me know. Send me a message. I don't know what to do. My machine sewed perfectly all the way up to now. It's the quilting that it doesn't quite like. So I'm not too sure. I really need advice from someone. So please, if you are a quilter or if you know a quilter, please, I need an answer. That would be fantastic. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep trying. Lucky for me that I have those two pieces to try on, but we'll see. So this is all I have for you today. And so for the next little bit, I'm just gonna show you my little dog for those of you who wants to see him. Otherwise, thank you so much for sticking with me, even if it took a really long time for me to put an episode out. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your patience, and I always appreciate your comments. It's always great to read what you guys have to say. And if you want to stick for the dog, well, stick for the dog. Otherwise, I will see you next time. And once again, if you want to make sure to not miss an episode, please consider subscribing. Say hi. He really loves everything that's knit.